So I just played Hades 2 for 10 hours straight. Let's talk about the game, if it's worth the buy, if it's a good follow-up to the original Hades, and everything else. Let's get going. Oh, damn it! Oh, no! So it is now in early access. You can buy it for $29.99 currently on the Steam store. And so I thought, let me take a look at it, play it all day, see what it feels like, and see if it's a good follow-up to the original Hades. And I am happy to report that it seems every bit as good as the original. I very much enjoy the original. In fact, it's one of the only games ever, in my opinion, I've given like a pure 10 out of 10, just because I can't find the complaint about the original Hades that I would say, even if I was trying to muster one. So in my opinion, it was a flawless masterpiece, the original, and the second one is pretty good from what I've played already. I mean, I would say it's going to damn near be a masterpiece as well, you can tell already. And I want to give you a couple examples of this instead of just saying the game is good and ending the video. For instance, subtleness is something that they do very well in this game. It is early access, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels fully fleshed out. Let me give you an example, because the boss fights are amazing, but there's one boss fight in particular I'm thinking about where you're fighting a band of sirens, and as you fight each of the individual band members, there's 3 of them attacking you at the same time. You have a guitar player, you have a singer, and you have a drummer. And as you kill one of each individual ones, you can kill them in any order you want to, that audio level of the track drops out. So if you kill the drummer, there's no longer drums. And that is right. There's actually an OST that's phenomenal. You can listen to on YouTube, as a matter of fact, for Hades 2. Original songs, 10 out of 10 bangers. Oh, no, dude. Holy shit, that's hard. What a cool boss, dude. What a cool boss, honestly. I'm someone who really, really enjoys good music in games. Part of the reason I like the Path of Exile boss fights, part of the reason I love Super Metroid, it's like one of my all-time favorite games, is because music in games can elevate hype moments and also set the mood. And that is something that Hades 2 does absolutely flawlessly, is set the mood with its music. But not just within the music, because the narration and the voice acting is completely phenomenal, flawless. It's not, in my opinion, one of these games where you kind of skip through the dialogue. I don't really like dialogue typically in games, but I enjoy the dialogue in Hades 2.
In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
Long-lost niece, you live! We thought you met the same fate as your father, and your mother, and your brother. Well, how about we turn the tide?
Not only can it be funny at times, it can also be serious. It can be, sad. It has everything from breaking the tension with humor to really giving you the lore behind it with good narration and actually making you feel emotion as you play the game. And it's just a smash, a hack and slash roguelite type of game, but they actually do the voice acting so well and the writing so well that it really does give it another level, even for someone like myself who doesn't typically enjoy that type of thing.
This old unfinished painting. Don't look away. Don't forget all that the Titan took from you.
That's all like kind of the art around the game. And speaking of art, the actual visuals of the game is phenomenal, as you're going to be seeing here in the background. The art style of the game is flawless in my opinion as well. But the smoothness of the combat feels really good. You have a variety of weapons, everything from like a spear to a great axe to like these mage type of, flames. Olympus torches is really what I believe they are. And each of them has their own style of combat. And that is what a roguelite is. It gives you the ability to go from like caster to range to melee. It sort of fill out the variety of style of combat and do a build every time that feels different. Each run, you get RNG-based upgrades for each of your weapons or each of your skills. There's a dash. There's like a cast that you do with your Q button. There is a ranged attack. You'll have like a spin to win with your axe. So you're going to have this cool attack that like hits and then splits and bounces around the walls. There's a variety of combat styles, but the combat feels not clunky at all. So if you're somebody who does not like clunky combat, if it feels to you like an ARPG, it's too slow, or if you don't like some of the weapons, etc., Hades 2 has basically none of that. All of the combat feels very, very fun. I'm just going to use the word fun to describe it, but it's also fluid, non-stop, and also feels fair while being difficult, which is a hard thing to do in these types of games. Very often you can feel like, oh, that's bullshit, like that's unfair, like I'm getting one shot by something, etc. But when you die, you know why you died, and you probably know how to avoid it next time. We had such a good build, too. I needed to not get here earlier, and if I had full HP maybe, and maybe the Death's Defiance. Oh man, what a boss that guy is, though. Also, the clarity in the game is pretty good, so you can see, it's not just saying that everything's telegraphed, but you can see what it is that's going to hit you while having this sort of over-the-top art style, while having good, fluid fighting mechanics with the upgrades. It's just really well done from a combat and gameplay level as well. So you got fantastic art, got fantastic voice acting, one of the best OSTs, like Hotline Miami level OST, right? Absolutely phenomenal. The combat itself is good. The boss fight design is, each of them feel unique, but also enjoyable as a replayable boss. And that is something that they do really well in this game too, which is the replayability. Actually, as you progress your character, and what you can actually do is progress your character outside of each individual runs. You'll require resources that give you passive upgrades through like your Arcana cards, basically, which give you just, your character will slowly get some bonuses and become stronger and stronger. And there's some balance mechanics around it, not just to make it where you can face roll the game, but some of those balance mechanics actually include the replayability factor I'm about to get into, which is the world itself changes as you continue to play it. So if you're going through and you're doing another run, trying to get to the end boss, because basically the spoiler alert, the plan of the game is get to the end boss, kill the end boss. Congratulations, that's the run, right? And then you evolve from there, and I'll leave the lore and the story for you to enjoy for yourself. But basically, you're trying to do a run to kill the end boss, the big baddie there at the end. And as you are progressing through it, the world itself is actually changing as you're upgrading the character. In fact, some of the monsters will get harder in the beginning, etc. So you have replayability without it feeling repetitive, which is something that's very hard to do, in my opinion, in games that are either roguelites or ARPGs. They can feel pretty repetitive pretty quickly if they don't have a good way of balancing that, which they do very well in Hades too. And something they do with the replayability also is give you more interactions with the gods as you continue through it to unlock more of the lore as you continue to play the game, but also you're building out your camp too, like I say, and sort of unlocking other quality of life perks, etc., that help with the game. So even if you're having like a bad run, let's say you're getting not very lucky with the upgrades for your gear, and you're feeling like, I can't beat the boss this run, or I'm going to die early, etc., it doesn't feel like a waste because you're getting resources that will over time upgrade your camp, and you pretty much are always getting an unlock of some sort after each run. You're getting a new god that you're talking to for the first time. You're getting a new interaction, or even the gods that you've talked to before are going to have new dialogue options unlock as you continue to progress throughout the game, which I think is just a really phenomenal way of doing the replayability in the game and unlocking the story and the lore behind it, while also having gameplay mechanics tied to these unlocks. Just to give you one such example, you'll collect these resources called nectar, the nectar of the gods, and you can choose who you give it to, and each time you give it to a different god, they're going to give you a tribute back, which is a keepsake that you can choose to use on your runs, and everything from like giving you bonus just passive stats all the way to like giving you an additional life if you die. So there's all kinds of different unlocks, and you can choose to build your character around that as you progress throughout the game. So very often you're going to find a god you really like and give him the tribute, and you're going to unlock a cool dialogue option that happens with a good reward for that, or even things that will affect like the RNG that you're going to have on the runs because you've given tribute to certain gods. So these again helps with the replayability factor.
Behold, the luckiest of my possessions is in your possession now.
Dude, he's the most hilarious guy.
You honor me, Commander.
Also, the weapons are different enough that as you're progressing through the game and just getting physically better at the controls, you're also taking the time to rerun the game or try to get to the end for the first time, maybe with multiple different weapons that give you a unique experience every time. The spear plays very differently than the great axe. The great axe plays very differently than the torches. The torches play very differently than the dagger. So there's going to be a good variety in terms of gameplay style when it goes to the combat, as well as how your character feels, both in speed and like pacing of your actual movement of your character and the combat, and also in the damage and how it's portrayed. So obviously daggers are going to be faster and hitting very commonly. The great axe is going to be really slow but hit hard. What do you guys think? Axe best? Axe seems awesome. The axe is the way, man. Maybe it's slower, but like, holy moly.
A boon.
That damage. So the variability in weapons really gives you different archetypes throughout the game that allow you to kind of play the way that you normally would enjoy in these games. I myself really like two-handed great axes, but then I found out in this game I don't really like them as much because they're so slow that I find myself getting hit by the bosses very often. Maybe it's a skill issue. I'm sure I'll get better with it over time, but I find myself liking maybe the range a little bit more so I can actually kite and keep my HP up, because every time you get hit, you ain't getting your HP back unless you actually, you know, respect into that and getting a boon that gives you your HP back. It is an endurance style of game. Oh my god. He did 70 damage to me? What the fuck was that? So the axe is really rough at this spot. The combat and the art direction are both so good that it's hard for me to tell which is the reason I like the game more. Is it the music, the art direction, the voice acting, the humor, or is it the smooth combat style, the way you do the upgrades, the variability and replayability in your character? They're both hand in hand. They're yin and yang. It's split right down the middle, and I honestly think the game would not be near as enjoyable if it was one or the other, because it's the whole mood that you have. The gameplay itself makes you not annoyed when you're playing it and enjoy the actual combat, but then the art style, the direction, and all of the other things I've mentioned are so good that you almost forget that the reason you're playing is because you like hack and slash style games. You almost feel like I'm just playing this just because I want to get, you know, experience the interactions more of the characters, etc., which is very rare, at least for me in games. I'm normally a skip through dialogue and you just spam click, you know, go, hack and slash, do my build, but not in this game at all. So if you want, I'm going to give you 5 different reasons that I believe you should try the game out, because in my opinion is an easy double thumbs up. Great game, okay? Number 1, replayability. Gonna get your money's worth. Number 2, phenomenal voice acting and really good dialogue. Number 3, one of the best OSTs, just hands down. Number 4, actual enjoyable combat, which for me is highly important in these hack and slash types of games. And number 5 is boss fights and fairness of fights. You actually feel like when you lose, it was your fault. The boss fights themselves are learnable, but also difficult and fairly unique and feel good. Not just don't stand the big red, but there's actual mechanics associated with the boss fights, etc. So very much enjoy the Hades 2 just in the first 10 hours. So this is only like first impressions, basically. But yeah, it's a good follow-up to Hades, in my personal opinion. Absolutely love the game. Highly recommend.
Death to Kronos.